and I went to end promptly at about 11:55. So thank you for joining us this morning. Andrea is with us this today, and she is going to be part of the call. I am going to show an example of a live coaching call so that you can see my process, the before and the after for the immediate process feedback service that I currently provide. But just to let you know a little bit about who I am, I help women in business with accountability and executing their goals through monthly masterminds and through performance coaching. And I really have a passion for seeing women excel in business, both as a small business owner and previously in my corporate life. So prior to being a small business owner, I worked in multiple industries: real estate, health insurance, property management, and retail, and led teams of various sizes and assisted with performance coaching and making sure that we got the best results within our teams. And so I've taken a lot of that knowledge and applied it within the masterminds that we host monthly, and then also within the coaching that I offer women in small business. And seeing women achieve their results has been extremely rewarding, but also seeing the growth in their business and taking levels from being a part-time small business owner to full-time and then adding on employees is where we really see the reward. So I'm excited to have you join us today. So Andrea has been so kind to join me this morning. You can see her on the screen. She is going to be the student per se, or my client, as we go through this coaching call. And so I am going to ask her questions about her business to get to know her business better. And then based off of what she has shared with me, I'm going to provide feedback to her. And then after the call, follow up with a sample of call notes that she can take and then use all of that information to apply within her business. Also, during the call today, if you have any questions about either my process or questions that you want to ask in general, leave them in the chat. And if there's time at the end, I will come back to them. If I do run out of time, then I will follow up with you separately. So I encourage you to chime in. So Andrea, tell me a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Sure. Hi, my name is Andrea Chamberlain, and I started Legacy Design about a year ago. I worked in a larger company, an architecture firm, and then a smaller design agency for about 6-7 years, and then decided that I would like to branch out on my own and formed Legacy. I formed it because I felt like I could create unique designs that would better communicate to the general audiences, whether it was a small business or a larger business. We take the time to learn the objective, the target audience, and the call to action for each project. And by taking the time to understand these areas, we're able to design more efficiently with a clear strategy and increasing the market for the business that we're providing. Our designs vary from general marketing to brand development to event design and branding a company.
That's awesome. What was your background prior to starting your business? You worked for another agency?
I did. I worked for a small agency where we worked with Blue Cross Blue Shields. We had a lot of small businesses. So I got a variety of background and work experience through that.
Awesome.
And learned from that kind of some processes that worked and didn't work that I was able to take and learn from.
What area in your business is providing you the most challenge today?
Right now, I'm just finding that the amount of edits can be overwhelming, and just wanting to really set expectations for my clients and being able to provide them with a better outcome and less stress for me when it comes to reworks and edits.
Okay. And for those watching, as Andrea is sharing this information with me, I am taking notes during the call very quickly. I'm used to that, but also it helps me make sure that I capture the information correctly. And also I will repeat it back to clarify. So Andrea, you said that within your business today, the amount of edits can be overwhelming, and then you want to make sure that you set the best expectations for your clients and provide them with a better outcome and less stress for you. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Then how are you looking to improve this area? Like, what is your ideal scenario or outcome?
Just, I guess, being able to have a little bit more control over the edits, and going into the design knowing, that we're planning for the edits and we're planning for the edits at a certain time, so that the deadline can still be met and I'm not being pushed to deliver edits too soon, essentially.
No, that's completely fair. So more control over edits as you're doing the design and the process, and you're able to plan for them accordingly. So you're not rushed and you can still meet the anticipated deadlines that you had set originally with the client. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, perfect. And again, for those that are watching, the process typically is I'll do a first 15-minute discovery call like I'm doing with Andrea right now to get a feel for her business and what exactly her challenges are and what she's looking for, what her ideal outcome is. And then within 24 hours of the call, she will send me over her existing processes and documents that she has in place for me to review those. So I can see what she has in place and what needs to be refined and improved upon. And then I provide that feedback. So then immediately 7 days from today, a week from today, we'll do a follow-up call, another 15 minutes, where then I will present to her my feedback and suggestions for her business or recommendations, because at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for your business. And based off of my business experience and process improvement and desire to see that performance increase, I'll make those recommendations and then also show what edits I would make to your existing documents or create something new if the case need be. So in this case, Andrea has sent me her information ahead of time so that I could look over it. And some of the recommendations that I have for her today that I want to share with you, and this affects a lot of business owners, is to review her contract with her lawyer. Some of the things that can be clarified and will make the process easier for both you, Andrea, and for your clients is, one, stipulate only one key decision maker. I think a lot of times, regardless of the type of business we have, whether it's in graphic design or whether it's in the wedding industry, that lots of people want their voices heard, but it's a lot easier when we know exactly who the key decision makers are. So it's easier to move forward in the process. So in your contract, stipulate only one key decision maker and who that is and their contact information. I would also recommend that you have a separate addendum that dictates the maximum number of changes per service or product. Because you have a wide spread of offerings, whether it's logo design, whether it's event collateral, whether it is reports or documents that you have to create for your client based off of the scope of work that you create, there needs to be a document that dictates what those changes are allowed per service or product. And then also an addendum that dictates the deadlines for each stage of the project. What I find is that when you spell out to the client exactly what is needed by when and how it impacts the rest of the work, they have a better understanding of what their responsibility is in the situation, and they can take ownership for it and know how that affects everything else. And then also, I'm a big believer of behavior, and either the actions that we do enforce the behavior or deter the behavior. And so some of those things in business come with penalties and charges. So for example, if someone misses a deadline, then there is a fee that's assessed for time is of the essence, or there's a rush fee if someone wants something turned around in 24 hours. When you put those things in place, it makes your client more aware of what's really needed in their business. Like, are they wanting something turned around just because they want it turned around in 24 hours, or is it really necessary? And so it makes them more purposeful and deliberate in what they request of you, but also allows you to manage your time because you're getting compensated fairly for it. And then also, and I spoke about this briefly, adding a time is of the essence clause. I think that's crucial in all businesses, that both parties know that in order to get work done, that you need to respond promptly. We understand things happen, but communication is crucial and what that looks like. And then also too, should you have clients that want to renew outside of your existing contract, then you can set a separate addendum for that, which would change the dates of service and then also explain what the fees are associated and the new scope of work that's included in the renewal. Something else too, because you had mentioned in regards to sticky points as deadlines and edits, making sure that you have clients initial beside the common sticky points. And so when you talk about in the addendum, or whether it's in the main portion of the contract, how many edits are allowed or who the contact person is for making key decisions, making sure that they initial beside that portion in the contract, because what it does is it reinforces both physically and verbally when you review the contract with them of the things that are required by them. And again, it reinforces that accountability and ownership for both parties. Do you have any questions on what I'm going through so far, Andrea?
Does the person who signs the contract, are they always like the point of contact person that
Not
I should be
necessarily.
dealing with?
A lot of times, especially in business settings, that you will have one person that has to sign off on the contract because maybe they're the legal or financial representative for the business. And so they will sign it off. And then there'll be a project manager that will be your point of contact. If you're in a separate industry, like if you're in weddings, sometimes you'll have a guarantor, or and guarantor meaning like a parent that is financially responsible for paying for the wedding. But obviously your person that's making a final key decision could be the bride and the groom. So you need to identify who those people are and what their roles are. But to your point, no, the key decision maker is not always the same person that is signing the contract. So that's, again, a good point of why it needs to be stipulated. Does that
And
help?
just yes, thank you for elaborating. And then for the revisions on the number of edits, do you recommend, like, obviously the amount of edits for a logo design versus the amount of edits on some sort of document that could be, 100 pages? Those are two different spreadsheets of edits, therefore allowing a different number so that it's not standardized on everything. It's more standardized based on what service is being provided.
Yes. So that would be a separate addendum, because an addendum is something that can be changed per the scope of work. So you wouldn't have that in the standard contract, because like you're saying right now, it's going to change based off of each client and what they need. But when you have it itemized out, then they know, like, per item or product that you are delivering, what the amount of edits are for that. So for example, let's say it's a logo, then you would have a sheet that has logo as a line item and the max is 3 edits. If it is an annual report, then they have a max of 10 edits. So then they have something that they can easily refer to that's still legally binding a document because both parties sign it and it's attached to the main contract, but it's something that has more flexibility because it's per client. Does
Okay,
that help?
great. Yeah, very much. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And then in regards to your specific contract, because you sent over some information to help me, I provided specific feedback in regards to the formatting. And this is, again, something that you're going to want to review with your lawyer, but a lot of these things are standard, so it shouldn't be anything outside of their scope. But adding line items where it says when the initial payment or deposit is due and having that date and having them initial beside it, when the final payment or balance is due, having that date and having them initial beside it. Again, anytime that there's a sticky point, whether it's on payment, whether it's on deadlines, whether it's on additional costs that are incurred, it's really crucial that those are highlighted at the beginning of the work before you start any work, so that both parties are aware of what could happen or what they're responsible for and when, and that it's in bold or highlighted. So that way, if they have questions later through the course of the relationship, it's easy to refer back to, whether it's them pulling it up on their own because they have questions, or whether they're asking you and you can easily find that portion of the contract and send it to them and refer to that. It just helps manage that relationship and their expectations, because they know what to expect, what they're responsible for, and if they don't live up to their side of the relationship or the agreement, what happens. And because you've dictated it on the front end, then you don't feel like a bad guy or a bad person, because you now have to enforce it. Like, it was already stipulated up front, they're aware of it, they agreed to it, and it makes it so much easier when you have those conversations because it's not out of the blue.
Great.
So I would recommend trying that and seeing how that works for your business moving forward. And again, in business, everything is evolving and moving. And so as you figure out pain points within your business or within your client relationships, that's where you can make revisions to contracts or add in addendums later on and figure out what works. But in my experience, and specifically, a lot of this comes from when I was in real estate and you're helping someone build their house, a new home construction, and you're with them for 9 months. And there's so many different processes as far as like foundation and structure, and then the design studio, and adding in all of the different aesthetic components of it, that people quickly forget what they initially agreed to. And then also prices quickly escalate, because once you get into the design or the creative component, this is all of our businesses, it's easy to lose sight of what your budget is or what you initially agreed upon. And so having these things in place on the front end really helps the relationship and the structure, and just support it so that everyone can move forward. And if changes need to be made, that's fine. You can add them, but people know what to expect on the front end.
Sure.
Does that help give you some structure? And
yes, I'm very excited to make these changes and see the outcome.
Okay. Does anyone on the call have questions for what I just explained to Andrea, or some of the feedback in the process? And you're welcome to put your questions in the chat again. And while I'm waiting to see if any questions come in, I just want to go over with Andrea quickly some of the other things that I grouped together on your contract were additional fees. So there are additional fees is the category, and then underneath it, there's a specific sub paragraph for revisions and what those fees are, and then have them initial beside it, and then rush work, what that fee is, and then the initial beside that, and then time is of the essence. And that is, again, making sure that they realize that they have to communicate on time with you and what the fee is for that, and having them initial beside that, because then it groups things together so they know where to look for it, but then also that they've acknowledged it.
Great.
Okay, great. Well, if you found this helpful for you and your business, I would love to help or support you and your business in regards to process improvements. And a lot of that, what that looks like is looking at your existing systems that you have in place, your templates, your processes. Even sometimes, as I've been working with clients, they now realize that they don't have a real process in place and they have to build it out. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you don't know until you get to that place. But figuring out how I can provide you the structure and support that you need within your business, because what I've found in business over the years is when you have systems and processes in place that support you as a business person, they give you that additional confidence that you need. So that way, when you go into conversations with clients or with business associates or vendors, that you're fully prepared because you have a resource in place that you can refer back to. The other benefit of having these processes in place is you know that you are consistently delivering the same type of quality service to your clients and you're not overlooking things. And that's sometimes really easy to do because we keep everything in our head. But when we have it down and we have it listed out, we know that we've hit each checkpoint within our business. And so that way we're not overlooking things. And again, it's all about delivering quality service. And so that's really important. And again, making sure that you're prepared to take your business to the next level. The other element of having processes in place is it allows you to delegate. Should you decide to bring on a virtual assistant or should you decide to hire an independent contractor, you have an existing system in place. So you know how to clearly communicate what your needs are and the end result that you desire from any help that you should bring on or decide to hire. So again, our immediate process feedback is 2 15-minute calls within 1 week. So for example, if you schedule a call today, within 24 hours, you send me the process that you have in place and any supporting documentation. And exactly a week later, I schedule a follow-up 15-minute call to explain my recommendations and the revised process. And that only costs you $100. So a great investment in regards to improving your business. If you're looking for something a little bit more in depth, I do have ongoing business coaching, and that is a 12-week process. You have a 30-minute call once a week. Typically, they're on Mondays or Wednesdays, and you have 6 to 12 pages of revised business policies. And your investment for that is $2,100. Several of the clients that I've worked with this year, a photographer, a florist, a copywriter, and most recent client, and I put this on Instagram last night, we have already revised multiple processes and policies within her business and 2 job descriptions just within 7 weeks. And so I love seeing the results that we're achieving together because that's my biggest thing. If you're not seeing results, then I'm not satisfied for you. And I really want you to see results and improvement in your business. So I appreciate you joining me today. And thank you, Andrea, for being a part of the call. And I will talk to you ladies soon.
Thank you.